Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Terrifying Tuesday on this channel where we talk about all things horror. And today we're going to talk about some of the most underrated horror films of 2024. So let's jump right into it. Alright, so since anybody can get on here and give you a list of the best movies of 2024 or the worst movies of 2024, whether that be horror, comedy, sci-fi, or whatever, I thought it would be much more fun to turn you on to movies you may not have had the chance to see. Movies that maybe you overlooked, that you saw the trailer for and weren't sure you wanted to watch it, or just ones that deserve more attention. And this is basically ones that I feel need more attention. Now, some of these we've probably talked on our channel about, and some of them we haven't. But this is my list of movies that if you haven't watched them in 2024, you owe it to yourself to at least check them out. And I'll tell you why I think they're underrated and what the movies actually have to offer you as the fan. So let's get into number one. And these are in no specific order. Coming in as our first pick is a movie called Speak No Evil. It's directed by James Watkins, and it is an adaptation of the 2022 Dutch horror film of the same name. James McAvoy plays Paddy, who along with his wife befriend an American family and invite them to stay at their farm. Now, the movie quickly escalates from there to where you gather that this is not your typical family and this is not going to be a typical visit. There's something actually very strange about this family, and I can't go into much details because there is spoilers if you do. It's more of a thriller than it is a horror film. It has good intentions, and I think it delivers on it too. You feel on edge, and James McAvoy is absolutely brilliant in this role, just like he is in every role he plays. He definitely knows how to play a bad guy, and as soon as you figure out that he is sort of not on the up and up, he turns up the volume on just how psychotic he can play, and it's wonderful because the subtleties in his performance escalate as the movie progresses. But what is this family's secret? Are they really the psychotic family that they appear to us when we're watching it? What is going on here? And the what is going on in this movie is why it is a brilliant movie to watch and why I feel it is one of the most underrated movies of the year if you like a good suspenseful horror film. So you definitely owe it to yourself to check it out. Coming in at number 2 is Lisa Frankenstein. And Lisa Frankenstein is about a girl who is misunderstood. She wishes this dead guy that she sort of visits in the cemetery a lot. She knows his grave, and she kind of wishes him alive. And to her surprise, he does in fact become alive. Now, this is directed by Zelda Williams. Zelda Williams, in case you didn't know, is the daughter of comedian and actor Robin Williams, one of the most iconic actors and comedians you will ever see. An absolutely brilliant mind, in my opinion. And if you don't believe that, check out some of the roles he has played and realize just how insane he really is to go the distance of the different things that he accomplished throughout his career. Zelda Williams is brilliant in directing this because she does a wonderful job. It is also by writer Diablo Cody, who wrote Jennifer's Body. And the movie is very much this 80s romantic horror comedy in the vein of Beetlejuice. There are definitely influences in this movie, and that makes it a little bit worth your time. If you like that type of movie, if you enjoyed Beetlejuice, this one is a bit more sexual than Beetlejuice, but even though that's the case, you're not really going to notice because it is played as a teen comedy. It also takes a little bit of inspiration from Edward Scissorhands, and both Edward Scissorhands and Beetlejuice had a little bit of adult content. So you definitely get those vibes from this movie. It is a lot of fun, and if you haven't seen it, I feel it is one of the most underrated films of 2024. Now, granted, it did get a lot of publicity there for a while, but I just feel like most horror fans might have just glossed over it. Saw it as some cheap romantic comedy disguised as a horror film, and you wouldn't be wrong, but it still does deliver at times and is a lot of fun. So I urge you to check it out. Not to mention, Catherine Newton is very good in this movie. She stills the scenes that she's in a very, very Lydia Dietz type of vibe. You definitely get Beetlejuice Lydia Dietz vibes from her at times, mixed with a bit of 80s Valley Girl. And it makes for an interesting little concept and a fun movie. Now, next up on our list is Don't Move. And Don't Move is available to stream on Netflix. It is a horror thriller movie about a killer injecting this girl with a drug that paralyzes her and is going to slowly shut her body down. Now, his intent in the beginning of the movie isn't really completely known, but we know almost instantly what he's doing here. It has the vibes of something along the lines of The Most Dangerous Game, and it is a lot of fun to watch. The movie doesn't seem as long as it is when you're watching it because it has a good pace to it. And I feel like if a lot of people got a chance to see this movie, it could have been one that would be much more well known than I feel it is. It's definitely one that I glossed over after it came out. I knew I wanted to see it, but it took a little bit of time for me to watch this movie, and it's a regret. And if you haven't seen this movie, it is probably one of the best movies on this list in terms of 2024. I found it to be absolutely enjoyable. It is one of my new favorite horror thriller movies, at least when it comes to 2024. Now, next up on our list is a little movie called Abigail. And Abigail is one of those ones we have talked about before, so you can check out my video talking about that movie and what I had to say, but this is why I think this movie is fun. The movie is directed by Matt Bettinelli Olpin and Tyler Gillett, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced those names, and written by Stephen Shields and Guy Busick. Now, the movie was originally entitled Dracula's Daughter, the name of the 1936 film upon which it's based. Only there's not much similarities between this and that film. It is a completely reimagined version of that film entirely. There's so much differences. In fact, it doesn't feel like they were inspired by it at all. At the end of the day, they definitely took some elements from it, but not anything you're going to notice majorly offhand. And the movie is a lot of fun. Now, this movie stars Melissa Barrera of Scream fame, and she does an amazing job in this movie. She's brilliant. She definitely has what it takes to be a huge star in Hollywood, and I only hope that the tweets that she made that got her booted from the Scream franchise don't continue to plague her in the future, because she is too valuable of an actress to lose. She does so amazing in this part that I was enthralled by her character alone and wasn't even concerned sometimes about what the story was. I was fascinated by her performance. Then you have Catherine Newton, who also does a great job in this movie, and the rest of the cast does amazing too. For having this movie be based off an older movie and reimagined completely, what they did with this movie was wonderful. And it is definitely worth checking out if you haven't had the chance to do it yet. Now, next up on our list is another one that we've talked about before, and it's one that I have to say is probably not at the top of the best list that anybody has out there. However, the premise is good. The idea is fun. And it has some interesting moments, even though it seems to steal a lot of things from a lot of different movies and throw them into one big melting pot. And that is 2024's Imaginary. Now, Imaginary is about an imaginary friend, of course. And if you had to sit through If with your kids, this movie is PG-13 too, but it's a little more on the horror side. And what makes this movie kind of different is that while they take the horror vibe, they give this imaginary friend this sort of psychotic personality. And I really thought that the premise was good enough that they could do a sequel. Now, because the movie kind of underperformed, there might not be that option. But this is one movie that, if it does gain traction later on, even for being a bad movie, I would love to see a sequel to this movie. I'd still love to see what they do. So it's definitely not the best film on this list, but if you haven't seen it, maybe check it out. It is a bit underrated for originality, even though, again, they do steal from so many other movies. Next up on our list is a little science fiction horror film called Afraid. And Afraid was directed by Chris Weitz, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced that name, produced by Columbia Pictures, and in association with Jason Blum and Blumhouse Productions. Now, this film stars John Cho, Catherine Watterson, and even Keith Carradine. The movie is a lot of fun, but again, it may not be the best on this list, but it is something that could terrify you, because it treats the whole AI assistant that has become so popular and turns it into a horror movie. And I think this is one of the better ones that's done this, because lately it seems like we have had a lot that do that. We had Megan, and Megan was really good. But this is sort of in the vein of Megan, except with an outright AI assistant that comes into this house and slowly starts to help the family, but there's something off about it. And as they try to figure out what's off about it, different members of the family react in different ways. And ultimately, the surprise twist at the end of this movie probably prohibits it from having a sequel. But it still is very much a fun little movie. And if you are afraid of AI, this one might actually make you more afraid. But that is where I'm going to leave you guys today. I want to know what you guys think about any of these movies. Have you seen these movies? Have you not seen these movies? Which ones do you think should have been on this list that you've seen that I didn't put on this list? As always, we want to hear from you guys, so make sure you are leaving us that comment in the comment box below, letting us know what you think. Don't forget to share this video with all of your friends. They're going to want to be a part of this crazy conversation as well. And then make sure you hit that like button. It's free. It helps the channel, and we really do appreciate it. And then Miko says we need more subscribers. And look at this face. You don't want to disappoint Miko, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell while you're down there so you don't miss a single video we do. And then friends, at the end of the day, I know it, you know it, and Miko knows it. Fandom is family.